gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, he is our first superstar in Indian badminton, and it's an absolute pleasure and honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much.
Putting our this sport, on the global map, he is credited to being a real Indian and making all of us proud. So Prakash would love to talk a little bit about your journey in badminton. You won the India Junior National in 1971, and from there, the same year, you won the senior title. And most importantly, you consistently defended that title for the next 9 years, which is an absolute feat. And during this time, and then you had an illustrious international career. So what was your motivation? How did you keep focused on your goals? And some of the challenges that you faced in your career?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. Great pleasure being here and to share my sporting experience. I think, there's a lot of common factors, from what we learn from sports can be applied, in the corporate world for the entrepreneurs or even as persons and vice versa. What the corporates, learn, the sportsmen can learn from them. So, basically, what we try to do is, just give you a brief background about, what badminton was, because many of you will not be aware. If you understand the context, how popular or how not so popular it was in the 60s when I started, I think you will understand the topic better. I started playing badminton in 1962 at the age of 7. At that time, there was another sport called ball badminton, which was very popular in the southern part of India. And badminton was played mainly in the north, west, and eastern part of India. And my father moved from Bombay. He had seen badminton being played there. In the mid-50s, he moved to Bangalore and started the first badminton association here. So there was no badminton at all in those days. There was another sport called ball badminton, played with a yellow woolen ball. I don't know how many of you know. In fact, in those days, in the 50s and 60s especially, if you just said badminton, you came to the south, and if you just said badminton, it meant ball badminton. You specifically had to say shuttle badminton for it to be recognized as, so that was how popular the sport was. And in those days, there were only 5 badminton courts in the 60s, only 5 courts in the whole of Bangalore. And today, I'm told there are about 3,000 badminton courts. So that's the kind of growth we have seen. So I played at a time when there were 5 badminton courts. Out of them, 3 were marriage halls, so basically meant for marriages. And if there were no weddings at that time, then it was something like this, not so posh, but the height and in terms of infrastructure, it was very, very poor. But so that was all we had. So so that was how popular the sport was. I started playing because my father, was playing, for fitness, so I used to go along with him. I didn't start with the intention of becoming a champion. I started at the age of 7. It was, I liked the sport so much. I used to just go along with my father, play with, we would probably get to play about 6 months in a year, because the other 6 months it was booked for marriages. But whenever we got a chance, we would just play with the senior players. And since the game was not popular, there were no books, there were no video, there was no TV, there was no computers. So, and my father was more of an umpire, more of an administrator, so he was not really a coach. He knew the basics, so he just taught us the fundamentals. After that, I've just learned on my own, just watching other players. Maybe I had the knack of learning, just watching senior players, better players, and trying to pick up something from them. So I call myself a self-taught player, a self-made player, and since I had to depend a lot on watching, whenever I got an opportunity, I call it a trial and error kind of. I made a lot of errors while while trying to improve. And it took me a long time to, to reach the top. I did reasonably well at the national level, but internationally it took me more than 7, 8 years. But this was not due to lack of effort from my side. It was due to lack of knowledge or lack of information. But that did not, deter me from, I like the sport so much. I was very passionate about badminton, I realized over a period of time. And like I said, initially I had no idea at all that, I would reach this level. I played because I was passionate about the sport and, it grew upon me. And, it just so happened that I was above average. Like at the age of 12, I won the under 19. At the age of 15, I won the national title. And at the age of 16, I won both junior and senior. So that was when I decided that I should take it up professionally, I should take it up seriously and, put in more effort. So in the initial stages, my father told me a few things, which I think I would like to share with you. 3 or 4 things which helped me, to reach the top. One of the first things he told me was not to complain about lack of infrastructure, lack of facilities. He says, don't complain about anything. This is all you have. This is all you get. Yet you have to try to be the best in the world. And I've always believed in that until today, whatever facilities are there, I feel that, it's enough for me, and I still have to try to do the best. And I think that has helped me and given me good dividends. And, I think that can be implemented. Not to complain about lack of infrastructure. You feel that, and focus more on things which are, under your control, which are in your hands. So I focused a lot on that. Like whenever I went on the court, when I went to the gym, when I went on the ground for physical training, I gave my 100% and did not worry so much about the end result. So one was, did not complain about lack of facilities, focused more on things which are under my control. And over a period of time, like I said, since I had to just watch and learn, every time I got an opportunity, like I said, I won the state junior at the age of 12, so I got a chance to play in the national championships at the age of 12. So there I watched some senior national players, and at the age of 16, I first represented the country, went abroad, got a chance to watch some of the international players. So I watched all these players and, picked up some strokes from each one of them and developed a style of my own. Did not blindly copy, whatever everybody else was doing. Because over a period of time, I realized that, each one of us, have our strengths. So which some of the, they may be the best in the world, they may be the world beaters, they may be world number 1, but some of the things which we have, they do not have. So focus on things which, which are our strengths. And at the same time, I took one stroke from each of the players and, came back and tried. Somebody had a very good half smash. Somebody had a good deception. Somebody had a good tumble at the net. So I watched, how they play and then, try to, come back and include that in my game and gradually built a style of my own, which, helped me, reach the top. So it took me a long time. Like I, won the first national senior title at the age of at the age of 16 in 1971. But when I won the All England, it was 1980. So it took me 9 long years to reach the top. But like I said, it was not due to lack of effort from my side, but it was so I was trying my best. And when I got an opportunity, then I utilized that and, learned from every tournament, every mistake I made. I learned from that and, try to make sure that, I didn't repeat the same mistakes. So I had to have a lot of patience, because I could also have been satisfied, just because I was the best player, 9 times national champion, you could be satisfied. But, I had decided that, and I was not sure what the ultimate result would be. I focused more on the process. Every time I went went for training, I gave my 100% and did not bother about the end result. But the end result, because of the process were strong, and without even though I had to wait for a long time, ultimately it paid rich dividends. I think it's a very long answer for.
No, absolutely, and it's so pertinent and relevant for all of us that we make the best use of the facilities we have. We use our strengths, keep learning, and
Yes.
that is how we grow with our determination towards success.
I
and
think
impact.
this applies across different fields. In corporates, in entrepreneurs. Just analyze your own strengths. Don't give up, because I'll just tell you, if I had like the Indonesians were the best at that time, Chinese were the best at that time. If I had because they were succeeding. If I had tried to follow and play exactly like them, I don't think I would have been successful, because they had their strengths. You are playing to their strengths. Whereas, I had certain strength they did not have. We have very supple wrist, Indians, we have very supple wrist, which helped me in deception. I was more intelligent than them. Tactically, I was much better, because I could think, better than most of them. Accuracy, a lot of things which were there. So I strengthened my own strengths, and at the same time, I was weak on the physical front. My fitness was not one of my strengths. And then badminton being a very physically demanding sport, I had to be physically fit. But I didn't know what to do. But the moment I got to know, and I went to Indonesia for 6 weeks for a training program, I saw what they do there. So as soon as I came back, I strengthened my physical fitness program, followed exactly what they were doing on the physical parameters, developed a style of my own, and that helped me, that gave me immediate results. And, I won just 6 months later, after my trip to Indonesia, I won the Commonwealth Games, gold, and then, went on to win the All England subsequently.
Absolutely, and that brings me to my next question to you, when you were mentioning that how you observe what the other players are doing and really hone your skills and your strengths to go up against that. 1980, you were the first Indian badminton player to win the All England Championship. And that was one of the prestigious, or the most prestigious world tournaments at that time. Your victory was against Lim Swee King, and he was known as the King Smash, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure,
And he
yes.
was known for his aggressive smashes.
Yeah, he was one of the fastest players also.
Right.
At that time.
And you played the greatest badminton players across the world. So who were your toughest opponents, and how did you overcome all those hurdles you met?
Well, there were many players, who were, because like the Asian country, they were all powerhouses, like Indonesia, Malaysia, China, Japan, Korea, and then of course Denmark. So they had a long history of, playing badminton at the highest level. Whereas India, there was nobody, we had some good players, but nothing to be scared of. So I think like Rudy Hartono, who was probably one of the, who's won the All England 8 times from Indonesia. So he's probably the, at that time, he was probably the best, badminton player the world has seen. Of course, subsequently, there have been a few good players, in the recent past. But during our time, Rudy Hartono was the best. Lim Swee King. There were many other players. So, like I mentioned, I analyzed, after watching them, and with repeated failures, mistakes, I realized that I had to use my strengths, and I did not blindly follow what the style which they adopted. I thought if I were to play like them, then it would be extremely difficult for me to beat them. So I used my strengths. So, when they were very fast, physically they were very fast. So, using my deception, I used to slow down their game and, make them move after I had played the stroke. And that I could do only because I had good control over my strokes. And, I would delay the stroke just a fraction of a second late and made them move a fraction of a second late, which was enough for me to have the advantage. So using deception. So if I had tried to play at their pace, I don't think I could have beaten any of them. So by slowing down the pace, by making them play to my strengths, by using intelligence, by using tactics, I slowed down the game a little bit. Of course, it does not mean that every time I'll be able to beat them. But so whenever I was in good form, and so I think got a lot of success by using my strengths and developing a style of my own, which I think which we probably will be applicable for most Indian sports. Like whether it is hockey, whether it is cricket, we have certain strengths. So I think we should not blindly try to follow what the others do, or what maybe the Olympic champion they do. If we use our own strengths and try to work on our weakness and come up with a style of our own, using our own strengths, I think that would be best, and that's what I did to overcome the badminton greats of that time.
Absolutely, and there were a lot of firsts for you. I keep saying this, first Indian. So again, first Indian badminton player to win a Commonwealth gold medal. And you have inspired generations. So my daughter is 16 years old, and she was very excited to know that I'm going to have a session with Prakash Padukone. So you keep inspiring people, young talent across the world and across generations. What would be your advice for these young talents to succeed in their life?
Well, I think these days, I think there are a lot more facilities, there are better infrastructure, sports is better recognized, parents encourage children to play sport. But I think generally, the youngsters these days, I think one of the first things, if there was only one thing which I would suggest, they would need, I think, is patience. Most people in most fields, do not have patience. They want quick results, whether it is entrepreneurs or corporates or in sports, they start today, the next, in next year they want to be state champions, next year they want to be national champions, next year they want to be international champions, then fourth year they want to win the gold medal at the Olympics. It's not like that. It's not that easy. One needs to have a lot of patience. One needs to, to work really hard. One needs to plan their career, need to have short-term goals, long-term goals, So I think, at least in sports, you need to plan. And a lot of, facilities are there. A lot of foundations have come up. So, no talent will go unspotted. The government is also doing a lot for sports. A lot of private foundations, which are helping sports people, especially Olympic sport, people, and there are some scholarships being given to young talent. So they have a great opportunity. All they need to do is, be patient and believe. I believed in the 3 Ds: discipline, dedication, and determination. You need to have, the 3 Ds, and go and work. Every session you go, you have to just give your 100%. Basically focus on the process, and not keep thinking about the end result. So I think I keep repeating that all the time. That's what I followed. I did not, of course, I went with the intention of winning a tournament, but I did not keep thinking about winning. In badminton or in sport, generally you say you have to remain in the present. When you play a game, when you play a match, you have to be at that present moment. You cannot go to the past. You cannot think about the future. Just be present. So like in badminton, we say 1 point at a time. So if you are starting a rally, starting a game, then your whole focus should be on just winning 1 point. Once you do that, then you think of the next one. Then you think of the next one.
And
so 1 point at a time.
And those are important corporate lessons for us as well.
Pardon?
I mean, corporate lessons for us as well. So we absolutely identify
Yeah,
with
I think this
what
will be
you're saying.
applicable across, to stay in the present moment. Of course, in those days, there were no techniques for me to, I think luckily I was born with, maybe I had a good match temperament, but nowadays there are a lot of techniques. There are sports psychologists. There are techniques to remain in the present. You can do meditation, yoga, art of living, different courses. So, basically sports consist of three things. One is technical, one is, which is, the sport, all your strokes and all that when you're on the field or on the court. The second is the physical part, and the third is the mental part or the psychological part. So basically these are the three broad, of course after that there is nutrition and a lot of other things. But broadly there are three. So one needs to, to see, you have to balance and you have to have all the three factors. The technical part, the physical part and the psychological part. So if you analyze that and see where your weakness is and focus more on that, then I think there are better chances of you people doing well.
Sure.
So that's what we try to focus in the academy. Of course, all this I learned, not while playing, but later on when you analyze, after you finish playing, when you start analyzing, how it happened. So I think, basically if you, in any field, you try to analyze your strengths, weaknesses, and, focus on your strength and work on the weaknesses, I think a better chance for you to get better.
Very true, very true. And that brings me to the next segment of the conversation. In the spirit of the game and in the spirit of the conference, which is about data, technology, data engineering. So technology is making strides in every industry, sector, business now. And technology is revolutionizing the way sports is being played. And as you mentioned, when you started in 1960s, there might not have been that many facilities. But now there are so many facilities, so many opportunities, the way technology is being applicable. So do you think technology is changing even the way badminton is being played now, sport as a whole, how it is impacting the athletes, how they train themselves, prepare themselves? So how is technology helping
Yeah, definitely. I think technology is here to stay. I think, sports is no exception. Technology has made great advances and sports, including badminton, definitely no exception. It will definitely it has made a big difference, and going forward in the next 5 to 10 years, it definitely will make a very big difference. When we first started, just to give you, like earlier, in the 60s and 70s, in most sports, there was only one coach, for a sport. Then when people realized that, specialization started, and then when people realized that, physical fitness was an important aspect, in most of the sports, a physical trainer came onto the field. So there was a coach and then there was a physical trainer. Then later on, we had physios, then we had nutritionists, then we had video analysis. So gradually in the last 10 years, technology has played a very important role. So now most of the top players, there is one head coach, but he has specialist coaches under him, guiding him in various aspects of, so sports science has become very important. So, no one coach can bring up a player to the Olympic level. He has to be dependent on a lot of other people who are specialized in their own field. They give them the inputs, and of course the final decision is with the, with the main coach, the technical coach. So technology will play a big role. And I think it has already played from my observation, wherever there is a lot of money, I think technology has already impacted, let's say international tennis. I think a lot of technology is being used because people are willing to, come up with new apps, with, prepared to invest in technology because, then there is demand for their technology. Cricket, for example, you see so much of technology being used, not just by the players, but for viewers also. When you see TV, there's so much of analysis, so much of data. Whereas compared to, let's say, tennis and cricket, badminton has not seen so much of technology as yet. We've seen, replays and, line calls being, judged. But otherwise, in coaching, there is a lot of scope. but it's very recent. Maybe, AI-based analysis is coming up slowly. But definitely it's here to stay, and it'll only get better and better. At the moment, I think most of the technology is being used by the top players to, more for coaching, more for analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of themselves and their opponents. But I think a time will come when, even for the grassroots level, or even for people who just play for fitness, amateurs, cameras are being developed, high definition HD cameras being put behind, let's say, badminton courts. It's not very popular yet, but I've seen some places where people have developed HD cameras. So anybody, when you go and play, whatever you play gets recorded, and you immediately you download the app and you can see yourself playing. So I think so in the next 5 years, if all the courts going forward, whenever they build, I'm just talking of badminton now, it can probably apply to other sports as well. All of them probably in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, will have a camera behind that. And anybody who plays, and I think it's in the cloud, so there is no limit. So anybody who plays, any activity which happens on the court gets recorded, and you can immediately see yourself, and which can be used either for coaching or for, for posting it on social media, or so I don't know what else, is likely to come, but I think sky is the limit for technology being introduced into sports.
Right, and technology is advancing every day. The way it is being used, the techniques, the methodologies, the infrastructure, the systems, and as you mentioned, video technology, like immediate replays, immediate videos. So do you think those are being used for strategy making, for analyzing the data? So we do a lot of analytics, data analysis, data engineering with the data, sports data that is being generated. So strategy making, even how it impacts gear or equipment in sports. Do you think it is making a difference?
Yeah, I think it is definitely, like I said, I think cricket and tennis is being used very extensively. But I would be a little, careful in using the data. The coaches have to be trained. They have to, they should not become over-dependent on data. There are chances that they might, like once you have the data, the person or the player should be in a position to use that data and take advantage of that. So for that, you need to, once you have the data, you need to work on yourself. A lot of the, from whatever little I've, from my experience as a coach, whenever we talk to some of the top players these days, a lot of emphasis is, they want to know the weakness of the opponents first. But if I was in their place, what I would do is I would analyze my own game first. See what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, because there is too much focus on the opponent. So what this does is, when there is too much attention you pay to the opponent, if I do this, he might do this, if I serve high, he'll smash. So indirectly you are conceding in your mind that he's better than you without realizing. So a lot of it, if you really want to be, you have to think about yourself. Like I said, focus on things which are under your control, because you don't know what the opponent will do. He can change tactics, but what you do, it's in your hands. So you have to be aware of what the opponent's strengths and weaknesses are, but that should be at the back of your mind. But you should focus more on your own strengths and weaknesses and work on them. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I will do. This is, it's all about me, myself, and only me. You have to be, in some way you have to be very selfish, only about yourself. This is what I'm going to do. Whether it actually happens or not, that's a different issue. If it doesn't happen, then you need to analyze after the match why it did not happen, work on that again, and make sure that, but all the time it has to be about myself. But I see a lot of the players analyzing, trying to, like, oh, I'm playing this player, so let me find out what his strengths and weaknesses are. Okay, you know the strengths and weaknesses, but are you capable of, have you worked towards exploiting those weaknesses? That, they've not. So I think the coaches need to be careful. they first need to I would use the data to improve my own performance first. Make my strengths stronger, work on my weaknesses so that weaknesses are reduced. And once I'm in a comfortable, position, you are, in a safe place, you have enough ammunition to manage. Then you can, then the opponent's strengths and weaknesses you can exploit that. You should be in a position to take advantage of the weakness of the opponents. So I think the coaches, basically what I'm trying to say is data should only supplement, but sometimes there is a chance that they'll think it's a substitute for talent, for technique. No, it can only help to a certain extent. It should supplement your strengths and cannot be a substitute. So that is where I think the coaches need to be a little careful.
Right, and you were mentioning that in your 70s, 80s, your reliance was more on your skills, learning from other skills, and honing those skills and coming up with those techniques and strategies, planning how to win the game. And this world, as technology, data is being increasingly used, maybe a little bit of over-reliance on that is coming in, which absolutely needs to be complemented and supplemented with your own skills, your own judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are two things which I've noticed. The big difference between when we were playing and when the present day, not just in badminton, I think in most sports, because we came up on our own, so we analyzed our own strengths. So we knew a little bit, like we could, we had to think on our own. We were not over-dependent on either on technology or coaches. Nowadays, there is so much of feeding which goes on, so the players just come on the court and everything is being fed to them, either by the coaches, you do this, you do this, you do this exercise, so many sets, this set, so they just come and, go back. And similarly, technology also. So one should not be too dependent on either technology or on coaches. I think, player, when he tries to analyze himself, the mistakes which you do after every match, when you win or when you lose, when you analyze on the broad three factors which I mentioned, try to understand and then discuss with the coach, take their help. I'm not saying that you have to do it on your own. Take their help, but if you have the ability to analyze, when your own strengths and weaknesses, even during the game, you can, if the opponent changes the tactics, then you are in a position to, to change your tactics depending on what, the opponent is doing. Otherwise, you have to, if you are too dependent on the coaches, you will just try to repeat what the coach has asked you to do. And then, you realize maybe the opponent has changed the tactics. Then, you're not able to do it on the spot. Then you have to come back. The coach will tell you, then next tournament you will, work on that. So the person who has the ability to think, has a better chance of improving faster compared to somebody who's too dependent on coaches and on technology.
Right, and technology absolutely has to be responsibly used.
I think that is one thing which I've seen recently in at least in badminton, because when we were playing, coaches were not allowed, at the back. So, coaches could only tell before the match or at the end of the match. Now, like you see even the top players, the world champions, or coaches are sitting behind them. After every point, they look to them and, now what do I do? Now what do I do? I find it very strange because, especially when the things are not going well, so they can't think for themselves. Maybe the Olympic gold champ, Olympic gold medalist, and now what do I do? The coach will tell him. So, but I think, of course, maybe they are used to that. But I was brought up in a different era, so I think too much dependent on coaches and on technology is I won't suggest that. So I think, probably even in the corporate, too much dependent on the superiors may not be good. Try to take the initiative, try to be proactive, try to think for yourself, discuss with the coaches, take the help of your superiors, But I think then you are likely to grow faster compared to somebody who's too dependent. They'll just do whatever they are told to do. So compared to that, you take the initiative. Sometimes you go wrong, but make sure that you don't repeat those same mistakes again. I think such people who are proactive and who take the initiative, will grow faster, in any field.
So technology is going to enable data analysis, data engineering is going to enable sports. That is your expectation, and that is the advancements in technology that you're looking for, where in human intelligence stays along with technology to make the best of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And talking about your entrepreneurship journey a little bit, can't let you go without having a discussion on that. You started the Olympic Gold Quest, co-founded, but that is not your business venture. And just to let you know, we were having a little discussion backstage, and he was very categorical to say that that is not a business. That is to help Olympics. I said participation in India. He corrected me twice. He said not participation, winning in Olympics.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll say winning in Olympics. He said, no, winning gold in Olympics. So, and that is the aspiration and ambition we need in today's mindset, I guess, to win. So a little bit about, but you have been successful business venture-wise also.
Yeah.
So if you can...
Of course, this is not a business venture. It is more for giving back to the sport. I co-founded the Prakash Padukone Badminton Academy way back in '94. So we finished almost 29 years. Most of the top Indian players, including Gopi Chand and Aparna Popat, and from to the current Lakshya Sen, they've all been a part of the academy. So basically, like I mentioned, I went through a lot of hardships when I played badminton. And during my playing days, I saw a lot of talent. There's so much talent in the country, not being, everybody's not lucky to have all the facilities. So I thought, once I retired, I must do something because the federation was not doing enough. So I started the Badminton Academy, found a sponsor, and to provide a platform for, for the needy and for the talented players, provide a platform so that, they do not go through the same hardship which I went through. So whatever I did not have, I've tried to provide that through the academy. And so I think that has played a major part in popularizing the sport and raising the standard of badminton. So, my academy was the first one way back in '94, one of the first academies in badminton in India. And so now, of course, there are, thousands of academies. So I'm happy to have played a small part in the evolution and development of Indian badminton. And that was for only badminton. So about 15 years back, we started, me and Geet Sethi, who was the former billiards champion, we started the Olympic Gold Quest. Exactly same as to provide a platform for all Olympic players to get a medal at the Olympics, to get an Olympic, that's why it's called Olympic Gold Quest. It's not Olympic Quest or Olympic Silver. The aim is to get a Olympic gold medal. So that's the aim. So we raise funds from the corporates, again, it's a not-for-profit. We identify people, youngsters who have the talent across. We've identified about 8 or 9 sports where India does well. So we have a research team which identifies people, and then, right now we are supporting almost 300 athletes in different sports, shooting, badminton, wrestling, boxing, archery, athletics, where we have a chance of getting a medal, table tennis. Of course, we do only individual sport, not team sports. So we finance them, we support them, we have a sports science team, we help. So basically, we make funds available to them, and they decide how the funds are to be utilized. Because each of the sportsmen, their needs are different. Somebody might want an equipment, somebody might want international exposure, somebody might want a physiotherapist, somebody might want a psychologist. So we just make the funds available, and you decide how you want to utilize the funds. Of course, we monitor their progress. We make sure that the idea, and we work very closely with the federations, with the sports ministry, with the Sports Authority of India, so that we try to maximize getting gold medals. So I specifically mentioned gold because, you have to aim for the best, whether it happens or not, because if we aim for, just for initially it was only about participation in the Olympics or, that itself was good enough. Then it became any medal. We said, no, you have to aim for a gold, whether you get it or not, but the effort should be, because if you aim for just a medal, then you will never get gold, because you will be satisfied with a bronze or a silver. But at least if you aim for a gold, I think that's how most nations, aim for. You have to try to be the best, in the world. And after that, of course, a lot depends on your potential, on your, on a lot of other factors. But at least that the aim should be to be the best in the world. Then depending on a lot of factors, you will reach, whatever you are destined to be.
And you've paved the way and showed the way how, without facilities and so many days, years back, how to really win with all the determination and grit and absolutely giving the best to my strengths, my skills is what will make us win and win goals. We have started winning, and with these endeavors, we will win more and more goals in the Olympics to come. With that, opening up 2 questions, Prakash will be happy to take a few questions if you might.